How have you seen the metal prices? Of course, we are looking at the Chinese economic data, the US and China trade talks. That is something that clearly has been in focus. But now the individual fundamentals seem to be coming in play as well.
Well, good morning, Manisha. Yes, I think, over the last couple of months, it's been certainly one-way traffic for iron ore. And it's been a very, very strong move as been demonstrated from the lows that we saw at Christmas. And it's been a very solid move, really, to the point of about, 50, 55% movement to the upside. So it's quite extraordinary. And I feel as though that there's probably enough momentum there to take it through, maybe 104, 105 in the short to medium term, maybe by month's end.
Do you see prices sustaining on those 100-plus kind of levels, though?
I think so, and I feel as though that there's probably enough moving parts to create uncertainty in the market. And, and you were saying as far as, the Vales, Brazil, and what's happening as far as Australia. But the other side, of course, is what's happening on a global front from the US-China trade talks and how that impacts markets. So I feel as though, yes, there's been some very strong restocking. It's had a very strong rebound. And I feel as though that there's enough momentum at the moment to probably push it a little bit higher. But, I'm not going to say you're going to get back to those price targets that we saw, $140 to $160 a tonne. But at the moment, there seems to be a little bit more momentum in there.
Point taken. Peter, also, what is your sense for the other metals? I mean, most analysts that we are speaking to seem to believe that most of these metals are fairly cheap right now. These are good accumulating levels. Copper, for one, where we have seen deficit concerns continue for this year. Nickel is yet another metal where we will see a deficit for a third straight year in 2019. Aluminium has its own concerns because of China environment problems. Amongst all of these metals, where do you see a stronger possibility of a gain?
Well, I think copper's been a wonderful demonstration of that, and they've had very, very strong moves. And as you've said, it was ridiculously cheap considering what we've seen over the last couple of years as far as pricing, putting your mind back to the latter part of last year where it was so heavily sold off. And since then, you've seen big turnarounds, and that's been demonstrated, as you said, across some of those base metals. And it's not unusual to see those forms of, price spikes. And there's probably a little bit further, movement over the Northern Hemisphere summer. And again, it goes into the uncertainty as far as trade talks and what happens and where that drives market sentiment. And at the present, you'd have to say that it's been, a very nice time to be a miner over the last couple of months. And I think that'll continue over the Northern Hemisphere summer.
Peter, if you look at the first quarter, we saw most of the metal prices actually close that quarter on the positive. April has seen some profit taking. May has been very, very volatile. But from these current kind of levels where we are calling these prices cheap, if one was to accumulate, how much of gains or an upside are you looking at then?
Well, I'm looking. I also take on board that I think the Chinese market and I think crude really assisted these metals significantly since really that Christmas rally began. 27th, 28th of December, and we put our mind to where the CSI 300 index has been so heavily sold off. It's down about 12% over the last 4 to 5 weeks as far as trading the Chinese market. So that's dragged a few of those markets down, and it's not unusual to see that, price correction. If you lay over copper over some of those other markets, they're down around about the similar percentage mark versus the Chinese stock market. So I feel as though that there'll be some form of rebound, but they've had such a strong rally to the upside that may be a little bit exhausted unless we see something dramatic happen in the short term.
So your expectation is, well, of course, iron ore price is expected to continue to be on the higher side. Would you pick a copper or a nickel when it comes to the base metal prices?
I think you'd have to keep a very close eye on copper, and I just think that I feel as though you'll probably see a recovery, but again, you've got all, what's happening as far as the crude situation with Iran, what happens as far as the Chinese talks with President Trump, if that gets settled in the next matter of months. There are big concerns that can, sway a market very, very quickly. And you could be sitting here in a couple of weeks going, well, the US dollar index now is at 100. It's 97.8, and there's been a strong move to, a defensive side to, buy US dollars. So, any market that's had such a massive move to the upside since Christmas, Manisha, probably there's a time to consolidate and take a little bit of profit off the table, and let's see what happens over the next month or so.